you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mary? Here.
Ronald Colley.
Here.
Roland Giroux.
Here.
Mitch Danoff.
Here.
Brett DeRoche.
Here.
Scott Gerio.
Here.
Brian Marks.
Here.
McNeely Rome.
Here.
And Marky Bates.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a full house.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, you've received the minutes of the regular meeting of December 11th. Need a motion to accept. Moved by Scott, second by Monty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, on the President's report, I guess time of the year we have to look at election of officers. And what do we do first, Mary? Do we go per?
Mr.
Okay.
Marks is right next to you, but open for the nomination of president.
Okay.
Okay, we'll open up nomination of president. Then I nominate Keith and move that he be elected by acclamation.
A second.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation, Mr. Ronald, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. The position of vice president.
I recommend we elect Ronald Colley, Vice President, and we move according to acclamation. Move
Okay.
forward.
Second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You don't need to say the nomination.
Motion carried. That's all we have, huh?
No,
So,
we've
Oh.
got secretary,
The
Secretary and also
Secretary.
Linda, the general,
Executive.
what is general third?
Executive secretary.
Yeah.
Executive secretary, could go up the word.
And is that, that's still Linda? Do we leave it at Linda?
That's up to y'all.
So we name,
I nominate Linda for executive secretary.
second.
Okay, second. Heard the recommendation from Mr. Ronald, second by Midge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
The treasurer.
We don't have a treasurer. That's it, okay.
We don't have any money.
Yeah, we broke.
Money treasurer, no?
No, no.
No, we don't have it.
That's, last year you did.
We did?
I moved to elect,
We had money last year, this year we got no money.
Because
He took it all. Took it and spent it.
okay, we have a motion by Matt.
to elect Monty Vega as the
Nominate
president.
Monty.
That's why you.
That's
Second by Brian. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. All right. And on the committee assignments, will remain the same unless you have any preference in changing, please let me know. And that concludes my report. Moving on to the executive committee, Mr. Ronald.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everybody who sent me their wishes of my recent illness. I appreciate it very much. It was a little rough time, but your thoughts really helped me through it. Thank you. The executive committee met yesterday. Excuse my tongue, I get my eyes fixed and my tongue goes out. Members present were myself, Monty, Scott, Keith, Nick, and Wendell. The meeting was called to order at 8 a.m. Nick informed us that the committee Paciola, that Paciola Associates were prepared to shoot the center line survey, which we do it every year, and that the contract was on a time and material basis. The Ontario Maintenance Award recommendation that Paciola and Associates be awarded the maintenance contract to sea-level construction. The committee will recommend awarding at the Rex regular board meeting. Pump station number 8 discharge pipe replacement. The committee reviewed the recommendation of Paciola Associates on awarding the pipe replacement contract to sea-level construction. The committee will recommend awarding at the same thing as the first one, the regular board meeting. Changes the pay plan. The committee reviewed formally changing the employee pay plan in the personnel committee. manual to establish an annual 2% cost of living adjustment, and that pay changes, including salary, on-call, hazard pay, etc., would be determined in the meeting by the Personnel Committee, which met earlier, and I'm sure Monty's going to have a report on that. Additional pump station number 6, with the opening of the reopening of the Britton Canal, we're going to need additional capacity there. Construction funds will come from a combination of Lafourche Parish's statewide flood control, funds for the East Side Ditch Drainage Project, and additional new funding from the statewide flood control program. Feasibility estimates are between 3.6 million to 4.3 million. Design changes could make this cheaper. The pumps will be set on a float system and automatically drain additional water from the Britton Canal after construction of the weir. The recommended the general manager work with the parish government on this. This will be an electric pump station with a float. It won't be and it's strictly take over the extra strain on that pump station by Britton Canal being open, and also to have continuous flooding there. This Reach K lift, Nick informed the committee, the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation Committee had requested South Lafourche's participation in an amount of $250,000 to lift Reach K of Organza the Gulf to 11 feet in elevation. Since Reach K is in Lafourche Parish, protects residents and businesses in South Lafourche jurisdiction, and provides protection Section C North, the Rose Floodgate and the Rose Floodway. The committee expressed concern that Reaches K and L continues to be elevated. The potential for overtopping Section C South increases. The committee asked the general manager to coordinate with Terrebonne Levee District's executive committee to find documentation showing the potential for inducements to our system as Morganza increases in elevation. In other words, we're concerned maybe that by raising that one puts more pressure against our levee, because that whole area comes to a point. We're concerned about water impounding then coming over. Even if it goes over there, less it's going to the marsh, but it comes over our levee, it's coming to residential areas. So we're really concerned about how that's going to work. There were no other items of discussion. With that, the meeting was adjourned.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ronald. Okay, audience comments. Anyone here addressing the board? Okay. Moving on to general manager report, Nick.
Thank you, Mr. President. First item would be, as Mr. Kale mentioned in the executive committee, we talked about the upcoming levee centerline survey. Pisciola and Associates will be running the centerline of the entire levee system and providing, like you see here, a centerline profile for the whole system. This has been invaluable in helping us to figure out what should be our biggest priorities, because it clearly shows us what's above our target elevations, below. It also shows where we were the previous year, so we can see what's been elevated in the last year and what's subsided in the last year. And it's also showing where the water levels got up to for Hurricane Ida, and a couple other lines of interest, like the authorized elevations and then our target 100-year flood elevations too. So that'll be happening in the next month or so, and we'll have Pisciola present our updated centerline when that's completed. We do have a couple proposed changes to the pay plan, like we mentioned. One would be to separate the 4% increase into a 2% cost of living adjustment and a 2% merit increase every year. That would then also allow us to have the potential for a 5% or 6% increase to give more incentive for our guys to perform above the minimum. But that's been discussed and will be discussed by the Personnel Committee later. Reach K lift. So the Terrebonne Levee Conservation District is currently working to raise Reach K, or they're in the works to elevate Reach K. Right now, the ongoing construction is between C north of our levee system and the Grand Bayou Floodgate, and this is Reach L. So that's the construction where that's been happening. They're also looking now to raise Reach K to an elevation of plus 11 feet. Now,
the question that was brought up yesterday was, at what point do we need to start worrying as Terrebonne lifts reaches K and L, which were open before, and so when a storm would come in, floodwaters would just kind of rush up all the way up to the intercoastal. Now that we've got this stop, that water has to go somewhere, and so the obvious places for it to go are immediately east and west. And so since we're to the immediate east, the question was, if we would, as Terrebonne Levee District is asking us to do, participate in funding the lift of Reach K, since it's in our jurisdiction, which includes everything south of the intracoastal and east of the parish line between Terrebonne and Lafourche. So the entire length of reaches K and L are completely in our jurisdiction. It's part of Morganza to the Gulf, and so Terrebonne Levee District has been managing the advancement of that construction. So they're asking for us to participate to the tune of $250,000. The estimate is just over $1 million to do the lift up to 11 feet of Reach K. So going back to the question was, how much can we raise these two levees before we need to worry? And so working with the Corps of Engineers and Delta Coast Consultants, pulling out of the post-authorization change report that the Corps did back in 2013, right before it was, Morganza was actually signed into law by President Obama as a federally authorized project. The modeling that was done showed that basically if along sections C South, B North, B South, and A West, we need to stay about 3 feet above wherever those levee heights are on C South to make sure that we're going to be, and this is overcompensating to make sure that we're not flooding. Similar on B North, the PAC report recommended that our levee section stay 1.5 feet above whatever reaches K and L are doing. Mainly L, but also K. And then on B South and A West, they recommend that we stay 1 foot above. And the reason for that is that as the water moves up the basin, it'll be stacking along these two levee lifts. And so your higher water elevations would be especially in this corner here where Reach L meets up with section C South. And so that's why your higher inducement risks are up here, and the Corps is recommending 3 feet, where here the stacking would be reduced, and they would only recommend that we be an additional 1.5 feet or 1 feet as we get further south along the system. So, and then I pulled this from the PAC report too. If Congress does not reauthorize and fund improvements to the La Rose to Golden Meadow Ring Levee to bring it up to a level of risk reduction comparable to the Morganza project, the cost to the Morganza project to mitigate the induced flooding could be around $125 million. Now that was back in 2013 with those levee elevations. We've done work since then that would probably bring that down, but ultimately what this is recording in a federal document is that if the Terrebonne Levee District and the Morganza project are in danger of causing flooding to us, the Corps of Engineers would have to pay to lift our levee before they'd be allowed to raise the Morganza to the Gulf levee. In other words, the PAC report will not allow any construction on Morganza to flood us. They would have to raise our levee before they would be able to construct the lifts to reaches K and L. So I think the concern that was raised yesterday in the executive committee was a very valid one, but I think this is showing that the federal government and the Morganza to the Gulf project are going to bear the cost of any lifts to our system before the Morganza project would be able to put
But
us
Nick,
at risk.
even though they're bearing the cost, we still have the exposure of houses flooding until it's repaired. I mean, we're still exposed to the danger.
Well,
They'll replace the money replacement, we still, if we don't do something or don't hold it below it.
this would mean that they would pay for the construction of our levee to be at the elevation it needs to be to prevent that flooding.
Our concern yesterday is taken care of with this right here.
Correct. And as of now, the lift on Reach K is to an 11. The reach on lift L is targeting it at 12. And if you look here on this is our centerline profile from last year. Obviously, our upcoming centerline profile will show exactly where we are, but here's 15 feet here, and this is where Reach L ties in. So we are at least a 16 or 17 along section C south there as of last January.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've been doing improvements to that section, so it could be even better. But if they're going to a 12-foot elevation and we need to be 3 feet above that, we're already there. So we're safe with all these lifts that they want to do currently. As they try to get higher than that, that's when we're going to be talking with the Corps to say, well, before you go any higher, you need to raise us to make sure you're not going to be causing what they refer to as inducements, meaning that they would be flooding us because they're constructing or they would be putting us at risk of flooding because they're constructing more lifts to
But does the fact that we've been deauthorized affect that?
It's a good question. It shouldn't, because it's part of the Morganza project that they would be addressing our system. And so in that case, I would argue to them that if they think that our levee is substandard in this place, in this location, that it's not just elevation that they have to worry about, but they've got to figure out what that 100-year level of risk reduction would be for our entire cross-section of a levee there. Not just the elevation, but how wide it is, what the slope is, what the protected side and flood side berms look like, because they wouldn't be able to damage our system by having to do this.
So Nick, I've always been told, don't ask the question you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
You know, you ask the question, then you don't tell them what the Corps coming out back to tell you, well, look, your levee has to this much, it's not enough depth, it's not enough width. You gotta build it up, it's gonna be additional cost to us. This opens a whole can of worms to us over here. I'm concerned about that.
Yeah.
And I wanna help Morganza government as much as we can and cooperate, but not at the cost of our system.
Right.
And then turn around, we also haven't asked to pay for it,
Yeah.
to help pay for it.
And I've been participating in the Morganza to the Gulf project delivery team meetings, PDT meetings. I was trying to remember what that abbreviation stood for. But we actually just had one this afternoon, but those happen every 2 weeks, and so I can directly address this at the upcoming one next 2 weeks.
But I mean, Morganza's gonna happen no matter what we think, so we.
Right, and so as of
cover up.
today, with the work that's going on, the construction that's going on right now, we, according to last year's centerline profile, are safe. Any future lifts that they would look to do on reaches K and L, which I would imagine are at least a decade away, we would definitely have some concern here if we weren't already by then, which I would hope we are, or aren't already by then back into the Corps' rehabilitation and inspection program and certified and accredited, which is what we've been working on the past couple of years.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think Wyndham's got a question.
You want to come up to the microphone if you want to talk about that? Sure. We couldn't hear you in the last meeting.
But to punish you and put you by yourself.
Maybe that's an
Talk in that
advantage.
corner.
Okay, that you couldn't hear me. No, I just wanted to bring out the point that there's also a benefit. If you look at the height either, when you hit that little 8-foot levee, that is L right now, the elevation dropped tremendously. So there is a benefit to our C North and what gets into the coastal. So it's not all negative. If we can take care of the problem where the intersection is, it knocks the water going to other parts of the system. So again, it's not simple, it's as complicated as you were talking about, Ron. It's a complicated situation. But the goal is to make sure we're not harmed, but there is some benefit. It's not all a negative thing. That's going on.
So the original question is from Terrebonne Levee District, if the South Lafourche Levee District would agree to partnering with Terrebonne Levee District, North Lafourche Levee District, and Lafourche Parish. That North Lafourche Levee District has already committed $250,000. Lafourche Parish government has already committed $250,000. They're asking that we also commit to $250,000, and the Levee District, Terrebonne Levee District, would bear the rest of the cost of that Reach K lift. Again, this is in Lafourche Parish. It's in our jurisdiction. It's not directly part of the Rose to Golden Meadow system, but it is part of our state mandated jurisdiction. So we do have an intergovernmental agreement that was sent to us. I made some revisions, sent it over to Ryan. He reviewed it assured me that he's okay with it, so that would be the resolution for y'all, if y'all would want to consider partnering and pitching in $250,000 to make this lift happen to 11 feet.
I'll move to that effect with the provision that we notified and they may be aware of our concerns.
Okay. A motion by Mr. Rollins, second by Mitch, that we join in tandem with Terrebonne Parish. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, next is the LA1 Coalition 2024 Membership Dues and Cooperative Endeavor Agreement. And Mary, you have that amount handy? $750 would be what they're asking us to participate, to contribute to the efforts of the LA1 Coalition.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to moved by Mac, second by Brett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And that completes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, let's see. Engineering report, CPRA. Look at Daniel's here, man.
Hey, New Year. You missed one month.
Anything?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't have anything for today, though.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask you to come up to the microphone and say that next time.
To be clear, nothing.
All right. Corps of Engineers, I'm assuming they're not here. Okay, we're moving on to the project engineers, Pisciola and Associates. Joe?
I'll get up to the mic, no problem.
I got that money, you want that money.
It's not too bad today, Mitch.
I know.
So the Rose Lock project, all the plans and specs are complete, all the permitting is complete. We're working with Nick to try to secure his funding. We're trying to meet with the lawyers and with Wendell to talk about right-of-ways, try to do that sometime next week. We are gonna have to purchase a few right-of-ways from people on either side of the bayou, so we're gonna work those details out. On section E North improvements, that's in Clovelly, from southeast corner to the northeast corner. Construction Site Specialties, the contractor, they've been digging, they started digging actually in the second pit, and they're working way from the southeast corner to all the way to where the boat launch is, the old boat launch was. And they didn't really work a lot last month because of the weather and because of the holidays. So we don't have a pay application from them this month. But we do have outer limit contractors out there. That's the local contractor. He's taking the material and shaping it into the levee crown to get us to the right elevation before hurricane season. So we do have a pay application from him. It's pay application number 2 in the amount of $79,680, and I do recommend you pay that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay outer limits, pay request number 2, the amount of $79,680. Moved by Mitch, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
And in addition to outer limits, we still have 2 of our pieces of equipment out there doing the same thing. So they're offsetting some of that cost that we would have otherwise had to pay out, so.
And on this Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to the pump stations and the floodgates, Grand Isle Shipyard is the contractor. He still has to do some electrical work on the La Rose floodgate and the Leontario lock. He did work on the La Rose floodgate last week, got all the work done. He just has to make the tie-in, so we're coordinating with Entergy and also with Drake and his crew to cut the power sometime next week while the water's low when the weather comes in, and we'll get it switched over. Then he's going to work on the Leontario lock after that. There's no pay application on this job this month. And the Hurricane Ida storm damage repairs to the main office, Grand Isle Shipyard is the contractor on this project. He had a couple of items to complete per the fire marshal inspection. He's done everything except for the closures on these 2 file room doors. We expect him to come do that any day now. So we do have pay application number 10, which is the retainage. And I would suggest you approve paying him that provided he completes the project, which I think he will.
Which should be tomorrow morning. They were
Yes.
here at about 2 o'clock and didn't realize we had a board meeting, so it should be first thing tomorrow morning, those fire rated doors are complete.
So that amount of money is $46,390 even, and we recommend you pay that.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay GIS the remaining amount of money for the repairs to the building. Pay request number one, amount of $46,390. Moved by Mr. Rowland, second by Brian. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, on the, sorry? On the
Says pay request 10, not 1.
that's right, it's pay request number 10.
Oh, I got more. Mine shows one.
Yeah, the report says 10. No.
So, the next project is the maintenance of the north sector gates at the Lee, Ontario locks. We're gonna take those 2 sector gates out, blast them and paint them, and do incidental repairs as we do every so often. It's been 15 years or so since those have been taken out. They need to be done. We did receive bids on December the 19th. Sea Level Construction was the low bidder in the amount of $664,900 even. We had two other acceptable bids. We recommend you award that contract to Sea Level.
Joe was also asked yesterday the projected schedule for how long.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So the schedule is probably, our contract is 90 days, okay? So we'll process these and get them started as quick as possible. I think weather depending and how much repairs we have to do is gonna determine how fast we can get them back in. So we do have the gates on the south end in this case, so it's not as critical as LaRose. So you can control the water, you just have more navigational shutdowns while we're doing this.
And where they'll do that? They'll take them out and...
They're gonna take them out and put them on a barge. They have a facility along the intercoastal towards Homer. And I would assume, they haven't told us yet, but I would assume that's where they're gonna blast them and paint them.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our engineer to award sea level, right?
Yes.
The award to blast and repair our gates. Moved by Monty, second by Mitch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and Section A East levee improvements. We did some project plans and specifications. We submitted that to CPRA. They had questions, mostly of the geotechnical concerns. So we're talking with Eustace Engineering, who did the original borings and geotechnical analysis on this section of levee, to give us a proposal to update their geotechnical work. I did speak to Sean Walsh today, and he indicated that he'll have something for us either later this week or early next week. Once we have that, we'll submit that to CPRA, and hopefully we'll have the completed design and go out for bid. And the last project I have is the replacement of the discharge pipe at pump station number 8. So if you see the pipe coming out the levee going into the water, those have deteriorated quite a bit. We did put that out for bid, and we accepted bids on December 19th. Sea Level Construction was also the low bidder on this project in the amount of $138,600, and we do recommend you pay that.
Joe, how much pipe we changing? All of it or just what's
From
the,
where it comes out the levee all the
Right.
way into the
to the
water.
water? Okay.
So it's probably
Yeah,
more than 60 feet.
that's where all the corrosion's happening.
And both pipes?
Both pipes, yes.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to award sea level this project. Moved by Mitch, second by Brett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, GIS engineering, John?
Okay, the
AE's by Lafourche water retention. We continue to work with DNR on extending that permit. We turned in the HMIA version 4. They are reviewing that. They've asked for some historical information as well, so we're getting that information to them. And the pipeline, the Chevron pipeline, we're still working on the letter of no objection with Chevron on that. The D North Ramp project is the one that is in litigation, so that is pretty much complete as far as we're concerned. We do have a couple of related projects to that one though. The ramp lift project, which is to get the material stockpile to complete the construction of the ramp. We're ready to do the one out of the triangular pit to the southeast of that site, but the property owner would prefer us to get the material out of an old levee on the northeast of the site. So y'all are currently clearing the trees off of that area right now, and when y'all are finished, we'll go ahead and survey it to make sure that there's enough material there. We think there is, both topographically, and we'll get a testing company in to make sure that the material itself is good enough. We expect it to be, but we just need to check before we put it in place. And with that, once we get all that information, we can continue with the actual ramp lift project itself.
John, just real quick, just for the board, since we're on the topic of, regarding litigation, we had submitted to the courts, the court had some other pending issues right around the new year, so we are hoping to get the court's opinion on the issue within the next 30 to 60 days, but that's kind of where we are right now. Yeah, so LA contract, and that's on the ramp issue that was discontinued for convenience.
Okay, reconnection by Breton Canal to by Lafourche. We turned in a set of plans and specs for Nick's review about a month ago, and we have not gotten those back yet. He says he's got some comments, so once we address those, we'll be ready to advertise for that project. And the D South flood wall at Crawfish Farms Phase 3 improvements, we are working on that in the next couple of weeks. We think we'll have something to make for that, to review as well.
No money. No money. No money. Good job.
Wow.
You come back next month.
All right, thank you. Next up,
You're gonna put him under the bus, man.
Angela Design. I hope Sandy don't want no money.
Got some bad news for you. C North, levee improvements. Campo and Sons is continuing work on this project to shape the levee to 13.5. We're recommending approval of invoice number 1217 in the amount of $94,057.50.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Campo and Sons invoice 1217 in the amount. A move by Mr. Ronald, second by Mitch. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Now for C South flood-side repairs, Campo and Sons is continuing work on the project to rebuild the flood side berm of the levee. We're recommending approval of invoice number 1216 in the amount of $19,250.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Campo and Sons invoice 1216 in the amount of $19,250. Moved by Matt, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
The Laurel's flood wall vessel impact barrier, the contractor started purchasing and storing materials at their yard in Homer, and we expect construction to begin later this month. And
Mitch, you
then,
okay with that?
No, I'm not. Like I said, I'll wait till they start.
Okay.
Section F, berm improvements. Sea level construction is continuing to work on the project to improve the protected side berm. We're recommending the approval of application for payment number 3 in the amount of $873,015.80.
And who is that to?
That's sea level.
Sea level. Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer for pay request number 3 to sea level for $873.80. Moved by Mr. Rowland, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sir?
Thanks, guys.
Delta Coast, anybody from Delta Coast?
Hola, hola.
Allsop. From Allsop. Okay, Mitch, legal permit to right away.
I ain't got none of that either.
All right.
Let's go.
Mr. Board Attorney.
Well,
Anything?
We're just waiting on that opinion. Once we get that, I will report it back to y'all, and then I'm gonna follow up with the board on, moving forward, depending on which way the court rules on that issue.
What about the first item on this thing that's been on there since?
Since probably before I was born, yeah.
That's still in,
I've checked with Ray a few times on that. My understanding is they're, and this is loosely based on my understanding, because I think this is before I even started
yeah.
practicing, which is, I think there's still some money that needs to be paid, and it has not been exactly determined who needs to be paid to, so it's sitting in escrow, just kind of.
Okay. You were still playing bitty basketball.
I think so, yeah. I wasn't very good though.
It's on the bench.
Yeah, that's right.
Your daddy sponsored the team.
My brother was good, so he played and he dragged me along.
So we gotta keep it on the agenda, in other words.
That's right.
All right, moving on. Finance Committee, Mike?
This, Finance Committee, reviewed all invoices and recommended they be paid as presented.
Okay, you heard the recommendation of our Finance Chairman, pay all invoices. Moved by Brian, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Personnel Committee.
Okay, Personnel Committee, well, I moved to amend the personnel manual to reflect lock operators being given 5 days of annual leave to be used in each calendar year with no rollover. Currently, they have rollover, and we're gonna, moving forward, we're gonna change that. So Mayor's gonna change that and present that to y'all. Could we get approval this meeting, I guess, without that? Or
Right, it could be approved the idea and the wording could be approved this meeting, and then we would just update the personnel manual afterwards.
Okay, so that's our recommendation that y'all.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our Personnel Chairman. Moved by Mr. Ronald, second by Brett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and we've got one other item, Mr. President, is to allow the Personnel Committee to make employee pay decisions. We do that every calendar year, beginning of the year, so we just need board approval.
Okay, you heard the recommendation of our Chairman of Personnel Committee. Moved by Mr. Ronald, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any old business?
Mr. President, just as a point of order, just to confirm with our attorney that the agreement with Terrebonne Levee District to provide the $250,000, we would need to add an amendment to that motion that the board would authorize the Levee District to enter into an agreement with Terrebonne Levee District and to allow Keith or I to sign that agreement. We approved providing the funds, but we didn't formally approve entering into the agreement and allowing for the signatures.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation of our general manager, and we have a motion by Matt, second by Mr. Ronald. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. All right, any new business? Any new business? No need for executive session.
I'll move.
Moved by Matt, second by Mr. Ronald, that we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen.